This vacation was booked for 2020, but we had to reschedule due to the pandemic. Originally, we'd planned to combine a trip to Kitmai and Denali National Parks and the National Geo Venture expedition to explore Southeast Alaska. We could not get Brooks Lodge reservations for 2021, and we wanted to shorten the trip as well. So next year we will do the interior trip. This was a wonderful experience to see a beautiful natural wonder untrammeled by man. The cruise ships would not commence until late July, so we rarely saw other vessels or people once we embarked. We had to be vaccinated and have negative COVID test before departure and then again before boarding. It was worth the wait. As you will see, we were weather lucky in part due to a high pressure dome and heat wave over Oregon and Washington. One final introductory comment. In anticipation of the trip, I upgraded my camera and software and bought a couple of better lenses. The renewed interest in photography will endure as long as our memories, I think. We dropped Scout at the Dossie Doghouse at 8 p.m. the night before departure. We set our alarms for 4:15 a.m. and then left the house before 5. We parked at the terminal parking and then walked into this scene in Terminal A. People were stacked in lines everywhere. It is the most people I have ever seen at Bush. The airlines and travel services in general are unable to cope with the huge increase in travel so quickly. This map shows the route the Venture takes from Sitka to Juneau. We initially head north on our way to Glacier Bay, our northernmost point. Then we travel south to South Sawyer Glacier in Tracy Arms, our most southern point. Generally, we travel at night to arrive at the first destination of the day before breakfast. We arrive in Sitka around 1 p.m. and find there are no taxis at the airport. We made a few calls and then talked to people, and we finally joined another couple when we find they are heading to the same hotel, Aspen Suites. Sitka is a lovely small town centered around the harbor and the fishing industry. We visit the Sheldon Jackson Museum after check-in, an excellent museum of the native peoples of Alaska, especially the Tlingit tribe of Southeast Alaska. John Muir was taken with the Tlingit people and describes them in glowing terms. An interesting fact is that they used the sphagnum moss to line their infant carriers that serve as a diaper. Clever use of the local resources. This is a photograph of a restaurant where we dined 2 days, and we came upon the second day at lunch an impromptu concert by some local artists. I'll let you listen in the following little clip. The morning we embark, we visit the Raptor Center first. They rehabilitate raptors from all over Alaska and have returned 805 bald eagles to the wild. There is a lovely walk through the forest. The two pictures of captive owls that are too injured to return to the wild are the snowy and the great gray owl. I take several shots of the bald and golden eagles. Sharon points out a wild bald eagle in a tree near the deck, and I get this shot while there. What a thrilling start to our day. After we check out and drop our luggage, we walk downtown. I strike up a conversation with a full-blooded delinquent woman baptized in St. Michael's Russian Orthodox Cathedral in 1942. She's a lovely lady, and I enjoy our conversation on a beautiful Sunday morning. After lunch, we check in and have our final COVID test taken, then talk with Robert and Ginger and Lenny while we await a short visit to the historical park before boarding. We board around 6 p.m., attending a mandatory safety briefing, and then head to dinner as the ship gets underway. The Venture is only 3 years old, designed specifically for this area. There are 61 guests and around 30 crew. Although fully booked several months ago, we are not at our 102 guest capacity because the U.S. has not allowed people from Europe to travel to the U.S. Last minute cancellations are principally people from the UK who have booked this tour. This is a shot of our cabin. The room is comfortable, and it's located a couple of rooms aft of where Sharon's standing at the picture on your left. The balcony is nice, although we only use it briefly to check out the weather and view, and then go up on deck to view the scenery and nature. We anchor outside of Sergius Narrows for the night because we can only navigate the Narrows at slack tide at 8:30 tomorrow morning. I'm up at 5:30 and we are greeted with a beautiful day with a bank of fog on the water. Alaska is stunningly beautiful, with snow-capped mountains rising 12 to 15,000 feet above sea level, and they are located relatively near the shore. The area is a temperate rainforest, receiving over 200 inches of annual rainfall. The snow is mainly in the mountains, and less than 2 feet fall along the coast. After Sergios Narrows, we head south to Suka Bay where we anchor. After lunch, we take our first Zodiac ride to shore, followed by a bushwhacking walk through the forest. The depth of the moss in the forest is incredible. It's almost 2 feet thick underfoot, and it compresses 2 to 4 inches with each step. It's a warm day in the sun, and our naturalist Rob is quite long-winded. Here are a few shots taken during our first hike. After returning to the ship, we try out the sea kayaking around the bay. It's a perfect, relaxing, and cooling experience following our hot bushwhacking walk.
Okay, here we are in Alaska enjoying our kayaking. Very relaxing. After our
Not so relaxing.
bushwhacking hike. We're tired. This is relaxing.
On Tuesday, 29th of June, we wake up around 5:30, already well into Glacier National Park. What a great day we have in store. It's spectacularly clear. We can fully see the Fairweather Range behind the glaciers as we motor up towards Marjorie Glacier at the north end of Glacier Bay. As we are motoring along, I captured these shots of birds flying near the bow of our boat. I really like my new telephoto lens. This friendly sea otter was checking us out as we head north. This is a shot of Marjorie Glacier. Scale is deceptive. The glacier is almost a mile across here and about 250 feet from the waterline to the top of the bergs at the face. It's another 750 to 900 feet below the waterline to the bottom of the glacier. Glaciers are absolutely stunning to behold. The experience of watching these icebergs calve is spectacular. They are moving at about 6 feet per day in the center. The ice that is calving fell as snowfall 200 to 300 years ago. All of the glaciers in this area are receding, and they are all melting from the top down by about 10 to 15 feet per day. We move away from the glacier around noon and motor past Marble Island that is filled with stellar sea lions. They are by far the largest land animal here, nearly twice the size of brown bears. We spot a couple of mountain goats high on the cliff, but too far away for a good shot, even with a telephoto lens. Along the shore, we see a brown bear sow and her cub turning over rocks and grazing on the shellfish and crabs. Everyone is at the bow, snapping pictures every few seconds while idling the next 30 minutes or so while we watch them. We anchor tonight at Bartlett Cove at the south end of Glacier Bay National Park. After breakfast, we take a Zodiac to George Island for a moderate hike. The trail is challenging at times with steep steps. Sharon slips at one of these steep steps and re-injures her SI joint, but continues the hike. Rich Reed takes a photo hike I am on following this moderate hike. That's a picture of a banana slug, which are very common in the rainforest. And that's a picture of the National Geo photographer, Rich Reed, that I was on several of his excursions and instructions. After lunch, we take a Zodiac ride around the Indian Islands when the tide is coming in. The inrush of current causes bottom fish, including the rockfish, to be swept upwards, and their floats expand, causing them to drown. Harbor seals are feeding on the fish in this tidal zone. The eagles are thick along the cliffs. We see a few swoop down to grab a floating rockfish. What great fun it is to see and try to get that perfect shot of all the action around us. What an exciting outing. The nightly recap by the naturalists on board are excellent, as are their presentations. We enjoy the cocktails and dinner and being able to socialize again. As I said to Sharon, if you aren't happy here, you can't be happy. This suits me down to the ground. As we cruise south today in Chatham Strait, we sight many humpback whales feeding. I see a couple of them breach, but never when I have my camera up and ready to catch the shot. Still, it's quite exciting watching them and waiting to get a good shot. Afterwards, I submit several photographs to Happy Whale website and get 3 whales I photographed identified. They provide a history of each of the whales identified. These whales cycle between Hawaii and Southeast Alaska annually. In the afternoon, I take another photographic hike with Rich Reed and then a bushwhacking hike led by Svea. The hike is way beyond intermediate. We find it difficult going and try to traverse the deep drainage cuts to find a way to shore where there's a landing area. One lady falls and wants to head back. Her husband convinces her to keep going. Moments later, she falls, crossing a ravine, and lands with her head in the muddy water a couple feet below her feet. They're on a log. She's a trooper, but heads back with a naturalist, uninjured, but a mess. We see moose and bear scat, but only one mink on this trail. Tonight we have a wonderful meal in a calm bay. Bottlenose dolphins are playing behind us and humpback whales are feeding. It's like a movie set for beauty and nature feeding around us. Afterwards, we all are treated to the most beautiful sunset. Everyone goes out on the sun deck at the stern to enjoy watching the ever-changing hues of the sky. How lucky we are. We wake up docked at Petersburg. There are several options for this morning. We choose a moderate hike across the bay that takes us on to Muskeg. The walk is mostly on a narrow boardwalk to protect the delicate environment. At the end of the trail, we end up on a river and see a moose and her calf. We spotted this black-tailed deer in the Muskeg. Black-tailed deer are a subspecies of the mule deer. The muskeg is up to 20 feet thick and very difficult to traverse. These are a few shots taken along our hike this morning. After lunch, we motor to LeConte Bay and then take Zodiacs out to see the icebergs and land to inspect the grounded icebergs firsthand. The colors of the icebergs are stunningly pretty. The shades of blue are all caused by reflection of the blue spectrum of light and absorption of all other colors of the spectrum by ice. Tonight is the crab feast on board. We took on fresh crab at Petersburg. What a fun meal and evening. Free drinks certainly helped the festive event. We sat with a different group almost every night. Tonight, Lenny, Ginger, and Robert, we met the first afternoon, are at our table, plus Kevin and Moira. As you can see, we really enjoyed ourselves. On the last full day of our voyage, we motored through Tracy Arms in the morning on our way towards South Sawyer Glacier. Yet another stunningly beautiful day. The icebergs near the glacier are home to the harbor seals. They have already had their pups this season, and you can hear them calling out to their mom. It sounds almost like they're saying, "Ma, what a stunning fjord this is." We are on the first wave of Zodiacs that launch, so we can get close to the glacier and watch for calving. The scenery is magnificent. The glacier is all the more impressive from sea level and on a relatively small zodiac near the Mammoth Glacier. This is one of the most stunning sights, perhaps the most stunningly beautiful sight I have ever seen. We are giddy with excitement and the joy of what we are seeing and experiencing. This is one of many shots I took of a glacier calving. You see it before you hear the thunderous clap of sound a short while later. We are a little less than a half mile from the glacier face. Still, the waves from a calving event are about 6 feet from crest to trough, this far away. The video that follows was captured on Sharon's iPhone.
Awesome.
Yep, you did. Listen to your naturalist. All right, here it comes. Did anybody bring it? Oh, look at that ice that just came up.
We are docked at Juneau when we wake up in the morning. Our suitcases must be out by 7 a.m. After breakfast, we say our goodbyes to most and then disembark. Most are leaving directly for the airport. About 20 board a bus to go to Mendenhall Glacier, shown above. In the 1930s, the glacier was several miles further down to the left, and the lake was not yet formed. We take the hike to Nugget Falls and then watch the movie at the Nature Center. Afterwards, we drive back to town for the annual parade that starts at noon. It's a homey and fun parade. Everyone enjoys the parade, especially the kids who are chanting for candy before it starts. A nice shot of the US and Alaska flags from the parade. We check into our hotel, Silver Bow Inn, and then head out to lunch on the wharf. It's a sunny day and a wonderful lunch outside. Afterwards, I work on my pictures some in the afternoon before falling asleep. For supper, we head back to the wharf for dinner outside at the hangar. We see a few folks from the expedition afterwards. We fly out the next day to Anchorage and enjoy our stay at the Captain Cook Hotel and meal at the brew house. We arrive back in Houston just before midnight and pick up our girl about 8 a.m. the following morning. We have missed her so much. She is so happy to see us, but sleeps much of the day. Running with the big dogs makes her tired. It's good to be home with such wonderful memories.